Hello, everybody. Happy Friday night. It is Taylor and Jake, and we are here for our Roundtable Bachelorette recap. The brand new season premiered on Tuesday on ABC. Great premiere episode. We got to meet the 31 guys vying for the heart of Claire Crawley, who's had a pretty big history in the Bachelor franchise. She did The Bachelor with Juan Pablo many years ago. She did Bachelor in Paradise a few times, but never quite found love, and she was chosen to be the Bachelorette for this season. They were supposed to film back in May, or even before May, but then, of course, the pandemic shut everything down, so they had to go ahead and film later. And they went ahead and filmed at a secluded resort in California, and that's, of course, what they're doing. They're not leaving this resort. They're all staying there. So it's going to be interesting to see what the dates are this season, especially when they're secluded in this villa. So let's go ahead and get into it. And first, let's talk about the intro they had. Normally the intro for the Bachelorette really gets with the guys, as we meet like a handful of them as they're getting ready to leave. We sort of see what their daily life is like. But this season, what we saw was not really typical of the franchise. It was a lot of them with handheld cameras hanging out in sequester and getting their COVID tests, of course, to come out of isolation so they could actually do the show. I didn't really enjoy it just because I like those intros because some of them are actually really funny. But I mean, they did what they could do.
Yeah, I definitely think did what they could do. I definitely think they did what they could do, but those old intros were better.
Mm-hmm. But of course we have got a season, and it was a great premiere. We got to meet all the guys. Let's go ahead and talk about when they arrived in their limo and talk about some of the things we saw. First out of the limo was Ben. He was an Army Ranger vet. He asked Claire to take a few deep breaths with him. Claire said that was much needed. Pretty standard get to know you from the limo, from pretty standard arrival. Not as gimmicky and crazy as we will see tonight. Blake was okay. Or not Blake, Ben. Ben was okay, not the most interesting guy. Didn't really jump out, but I thought what he did was real sweet.
Yeah, that was nice of him to do that, for sure.
And up next was really corny. A 30-year-old attorney, Riley, said that Claire was guilty as charged for looking good in her dress.
Yeah,
now there's desperate, and then there's this. I just thought it wasn't good. He didn't make a good arrival.
No, that wasn't. No, that was pretty bad, actually. That was a pretty bad first impression, honestly.
And then up next, we had the corniest of more corny, Zach C., a 36-year-old addiction specialist. He came in, made this sappy speech about being happy and how neither have settled down and how he's happy to be there and that he believes everything happens for a reason. I mean, come on. How more corny can you get? And that's probably one of the most common things that, people say when they meet somebody or when they're getting ready to propose. I just didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
Up next, we had Jordan M., 30-year-old cybersecurity manager, comes in wearing velvet shoes and with, again, just corny one-liner after corny one-liner. He talked to he noted Claire noticed that he was wearing velvet shoes and that and of course he said that, and he called her a tall drink of water.
Lame. Like that was pretty lame, honestly.
That's like a pickup line that some cheesy guy would use at a bar that's just there for the drinks and the sex. I mean, it was
right.
Not
You're exactly right.
Yeah. Up next was one of the more cool. I kind of like this guy. He seemed like a lot of fun. Jason, 31, former football lineman, came in wearing a fake baby bump, like she got out of the limo with during Juan Pablo's season. Says he's willing to hold the weight of the relationship and his labor of love. I mean, I guess it was cool. I don't know how Claire enjoyed him bringing her back to the Juan Pablo experience because, of course, she had a horrible time on there.
Yes.
She hated how Juan Pablo acted, so I don't know if that was a good idea.
No.
I mean, it was humorous, but I don't know whether or not she's over the whole Juan Pablo thing.
Yeah, I don't think she wants to like revisit the whole Juan Pablo situation at all.
Next we had Ivan, who was a 28-year-old aeronautical engineer. Said his mom taught him her native Filipino language, Tagalog, and he learned how to say she looked beautiful in the language. It was pretty sweet.
That was sweet, yeah.
It was really sweet, and she seemed to enjoy it a lot. Up next, we had Kenny. There's always at least one really goofy guy this season that maybe will last a few episodes, but is not going to get picked at all. And this season, it is 39-year-old boy band manager Kenny, who wore a shirt with dogs on it and asked Claire to pet his shirt.
That was creepy, honestly. I'd be like,
And then there were a few that they sped by real quick, meaning they're probably not going to be around a very long time. We had 30-year-old Brendan, who the only memorable thing about him was that he wore a bow tie. 38-year-old Mike, who was a digital media advisor, brought Claire shoes to wear in case her feet got tired. Now, if that was creepy.
that is, yeah, that is pretty creepy, actually.
Like, does this guy go out on dates just randomly taking people pairs of shoes? Like, hey, your feet are really tired. I'm going to give you these as our instead of flowers tonight.
Yeah.
And then we had the oldest person of the season, who was Jeremy, a banker. Said he's not here for him, here for her. This guy comes off as a major tool. And honestly, he kind of reminded me of Donald Trump Jr., if you ask me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't my favorite.
And then we had Blake Monar, who his occupation, he's a male grooming specialist. Again, we really didn't get to get to see much of him. And one of my favorite of all time intros, Tyler C., a 27-year-old lawyer, country boy, drove up in a station wagon like Chevy Chase in the Vacation movie. Said he packed his entire life in the station wagon and said there was room for kids and a couple dogs, which was pretty nice. I thought he was a pretty genuine guy. You know, shows there that he's there to be serious, but also there that he's there to have a good time and not really take the thing so seriously.
Exactly.
And up next, we had probably my least favorite of the night. It was Bennett, a 36-year-old wealth management consultant, pulled up in a Rolls Royce wearing a tux, complete with a long white scarf. Said he wanted to ride up in Hollywood fashion. He annoyed the other guys, and he truly was really annoying.
Yeah.
Going on with me right now, we rescued a stray. We apologize for technical difficulties. Anyway, moving on was wildlife manager Blake Moynes said he waited 4 months to tell her something that he will tell her inside, whatever that means. Up next was Chris, a landscape designer salesman, says he felt like he's waited forever for this moment. I like the guys that come in sincere. I hate the guys that use the typical corny one-liners against the women.
Yeah,
and the girls doing the same thing on The Bachelor, just being super corny and seem to not being their self. Like, you're going in there looking for love. You know, be yourself. Loosen up. Don't come in here with these cheesy lines. come in, maybe give a hug, say you'll talk to him inside, and really show who you are. Don't be this fake person that they want you to be on TV.
Exactly. There you go.
Up next was Creeper, 28-year-old AJ, who's a software salesman, says his friend says he gives off terrible first impressions. And what does he do? He turns into a creeper on national television and gives a bad first impression. Gives off statistics about people with green eyes, said her hands were really soft, and she said that AJ squeezed her hands too hard. I think he looks like he would have been better on like the Bachelor nerdy spinoff or something.
Yeah, I think so too.
Up next with 36-year-old Joe, anesthesiologist, said he was there to save her love life. Not much about him. 34-year-old Garen, who is a professor of journalism. And then we had Robbie, 32-year-old insurance broker, said he was excited to meet her and calls her beautiful. Again, and that's something I didn't like about this premiere, is that it seemed like while most seasons, we get pretty good arrivals in the limo, a lot of these they just sped over. I don't know if it's because of the whole intro they did with the pandemic, or if I don't know. It just wasn't fun. It wasn't. I didn't like it that much. Up next was Easy, a 29-year-old sports marketing agent, jumped out of the big banner, one of those football banners you see at high school football games, jumped out of it. It said on there, your future husband tells Claire she'll always be his first-round draft pick, which was kind of corny, but Easy is one of my favorite guys. I think he's genuine. He, really is there looking for love. His interest was a little corny, but I think that he could go a while. He could last a long time.
I do see him going far. I actually like the vibe that he gave off, so I could see him going far.
Yeah. And then here's the one I thought was absolutely ridiculous. Fitness director, 29-year-old Jay, who came in a straitjacket.
Yeah.
And he spent the entire night wearing the straitjacket. I mean...
Yeah, like, come on. You can do better than that.
He comes out of the limo saying he's waited very long to meet Claire. How long did it take him to escape from a mental institution is what I want to know. Said that he waited so long to meet her that he's gone crazy and that he wants to show that he's most dedicated because of his gimmick. Anyway, up next we had Chasen, who came in full armor and then shedded the armor and said he shedded his armor for her. Another I don't know. Next was Damar, a spin cycling instructor who comes up looking like he jumped out of a plane. He had the parachute and everything on, coming in saying that he may have fallen for her already. Not funny at all. No, I didn't like it.
I think it would look better if he didn't walk up with the parachute on. If he had just came up being himself instead of having the parachute on, it would have looked a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Up next was 36-year-old healthcare salesman Ed, who came encased in a plastic bubble. Of course, said he wanted to come prepared. Of course, during a pandemic, the right thing to do is to come in a plastic bubble. If they would have done that this season of Big Brother, probably would have made for a more interesting season. Up next, we had another guy I don't like, Yosef. We'll talk about him later on. Medical equipment salesman, brought Claire some moon pies. Said that guys give him a hard time sometimes. I wonder why, because he's a total douche. Anyway, Jordan, and this is like a montage of people bringing snacks. And we had Jordan C., who came in and brought popcorn and tried to have her catch it in her mouth. And then this one was just completely ridiculous. Zach J., a 37-year-old cleaning service owner, came in, got down on one knee, and open up a ring, it's a gag gift. I found it online too. If anybody wants to buy it, they could buy it on Amazon.com. It's called a moon ring, M-O-O-N, not M-O-O-D, a moon ring. You open it up, a guy farts in your face. That's what the gag is. I don't see why he thought that was so funny. Next was Brandon, who said he had to be there. And then Dale, the 31-year-old football receiver, who now has an instant connection. Claire has an instant connection with her. And she really, 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 really likes him. And he is the center of all the drama this season and is the reason I cannot wait for Tasia to come. Because, and I think until the Tasia episodes, the episodes are going to be real predictable. It's going to be the Dale and Claire show, and we won't get to see much. So I can't wait until we get Tasia on the show.
Yeah, just like the trailer as a whole for the season looks super juicy. So I'm excited to see all the drama unfold.
Up next was a 37-year-old chef named Paige, who was very boring. Next was Tyler S., who was also boring, was a music manager that commended Claire for showing up. Now, after all this, we get to the cocktail party. We see it's hard to really, especially with 31 men, to really see who they're talking to unless they say. So she was talking to one guy about, this guy said he was the only one with friends, not married or had any kids, said he only came for her. That's really sweet, but also, everybody says that going into these shows. I'm single, I haven't, I've never had a serious relationship. All my friends are married and have kids. I'm the only single one. I'm the uncle that all the nephews and nieces like. I'm just, I get annoyed when people do that. But up next, there was a really, really meaning conversation between Easy and Claire. They talked about getting worked up. She talked about her dogs and told Easy that her dogs are actually there with her. Easy talked about being a mama's boy. Claire talked about her mom having Alzheimer's and how it makes her value life. And I would really enjoy the conversation and think it was very meaningful and genuine, except for the fact that in a few episodes we're going to get rid of Claire because she's going to leave with Dale. So I think that's one thing that's really bugging me about the season.
Yeah, I thought their conversation flowed really well. So I enjoyed that part.
Mm-hmm. And up next, we had Claire talking to Dale, of course, her future husband. They talk about waiting for the moment to do the show and she talked about her mom more. They have a very deep conversation. Dale says he likes her energy. That's code for, let's get married. And then now Claire and some other guy, they played a carnival game outside. I thought that was fun. Garen's niece drew a picture for Claire. We saw Joe come up and play some origami games. I thought that was really sweet, and then Jason asked Claire if she's seen My Cousin Vinny, and of course she said no. And then they had a conversation about a creepy cabin in the woods. I don't know where it went there. There wasn't as much content as other premieres, which really, really, really let me down because we didn't get to see much.
It seemed like it was like a little bit, I guess, rushed for a premiere.
Yeah, and that I think that, because of the whole Claire and Dale thing and bringing in the new Bachelorette, that they're kind of not really focusing on a lot of the relationships because we don't want them to get too attached with Claire and these other people. And so they're going to, rush through all this so we can get to Tasia. Up next, we had Yosef, who they had a pretty good conversation. He talked in his confessional about being the best there and how he's going to get the first impression rose. This guy is extremely arrogant.
Yes, he is.
Really annoying. Seems like he's a womanizer, thinks every single woman is in love with him. And then we see Tyler C. Says he knows something about Yosef that no one knows. He reveals it to a bunch of the other guys that he saw him flirting with other girls on Instagram during the pandemic. Tyler confronted him and said that he's trying to protect her feelings. Yosef says he doesn't remember DMing anyone. The last time we saw, say, somebody that they didn't remember seeing anything or remember doing anything was when Aaron was on Big Brother 15. That's a whole other story for a different time. We're not going to get there. But Yosef calls him Mini McConaughey and said he isn't here for high school drama, yet he's sitting here on Instagram flirting with a bunch of girls. It sounds like he's doing a lot of drama. But so all the guys are upset because their drama got away from their one-on-one time with Claire. Claire talks to Blake Moynes about being in quarantine, says he broke a rule by talking to her in sequester, but he appreciates their conversation. And at this time, Claire picks up the first impression rose and gives it to Dale. No surprise. So Dale has a first impression rose, and he is through to next week. And it's going to be another week of the Claire and Dale show.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised that she gave the first impression rose to him because, I mean, obviously she's very much into him.
And of course, Tyler and Yosef went to Claire and told Claire about the drama between the two, and then Claire kind of got them together and had them face off. And after all this drama, they went into the rose ceremony, which, again, it was tough this week because we didn't get to know a lot of the guys like we normally do. But anyway, she gave roses to Blake Moynes, Easy, Ben, Riley, Zach J, Tyler S, Joe, Jason, DeMar, Chasen, Jordan C, Blake, Kennedy, Brendan, Garen, Ed, Bennett, Zach C, Jay, Brendan, Ivan, and, of course, Yosef. Of course, they have to keep the villain on. And, of course, that means that Tyler C was one of the first ones eliminated. I really, really wanted him to stick around, even though I know what was going to happen with Claire, but I think he would have been nice to watch with Tasia. I'm almost wondering if because maybe the way they're editing him, because maybe with Tasia coming in, maybe they're going to bring some of the eliminated guys back.
Yeah.
They'll get a second chance with Tasia. I'd really like to see that.
I don't understand why she saved Yosef though, especially if he did do all of this.
Yeah,
she's gonna make herself look like a clown.
Yeah. If somebody came up and said something to me about somebody, I wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, go. and you know, at least Tyler did the nice thing in warning her about it.
Yeah. But anyway, we also say goodbye to Robbie, Boring Page, Mike, Jordan M, Jeremy, Chris, and Creeper AJ. So we lost a bunch of guys. We're down to, I think, 23. And I'm sorry, guys. My dad is in the background talking about my surprise party tomorrow. That's not really a surprise. It's my birthday tomorrow. But anyway, it was a great show. I can't wait for next Tuesday. We get to go on the dates. More drama, I'm sure. I cannot wait. For next week. But anyway, make sure you follow us on social media, guys. We will talk a lot about it on the next show. Thank you very much for tuning in. For Jacob, I have been Taylor, and good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.